Now, I was nasty. I'm going to just put that out there. Okay, I was nasty. No one got 100%. And the reason no one got 100% was because I put a question in there to trap you. And you know what you did? You walked into my trap. And I was so excited. But you did. You walked into my trap. And that was why no one got 100%. So these are our top achievers, but they're still not 100%ers because of this question. So, yes, Kamba, it was the first question. The very first question said, what is the period of y is equal to sine 3x? And I had been telling you, as you should know, that for sine and cos in grade 10, your period is always 360 degrees. So you said 360 degrees. But I also told you in a couple of lessons that in grade 11, we bring in another variable. We bring in that b. I don't know if anyone remembers me talking about the b, but I did. And the b, I told you, changes the period. And so this question was a completely mean, nasty question, which was just that was its only purpose. It was a nasty question just to trick you. And I was so chuffed that I tricked everyone. And that 3x is actually telling us that our graph is going to be smushed. It's going to be like this. And so instead of 360 degrees, our period's actually going to be 120 degrees. So that was
how could you? I agree with you.
I know. I didn't. I had to. I felt like people were getting too confident. I was getting all these 100%. And I was like, no. I'm going to be a bit nasty. That was what that was. Okay, so now you know. If you see a sneaky question like that, you know that the period is different. And now you know. Okay, let's have a look. So, quick recap from Tuesday is I would like for you all to draw the graph of g of x, which is equal to -2 cos x minus 3. Okay. So do it any way you feel comfortable, on your calculator or with a table. But for I do agree with that. I do with confidence. But sometimes I feel like I need to get you to walk into some of my traps, because if you're just jumping over all of my traps, then I'm not setting enough. So I have to set more traps.
Practice more. They're not going to study. Like,
yeah,
you can be like,
I always get 100%. I don't need to do any more work.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's -2 cos x minus 3. Now what I've done, and you can take screenshots of this to try and help you. I'm just going to write this down for myself so I can copy it later. Okay, is I've written how you can do it on your calculators. So I promised those of you on Tuesday, if you have a sharp calculator, how to find this table mode. So that was what I was doing. So if you are a sharp calculator user, these are the steps you're going to follow. I can't show you on my calculator because I don't have a sharp. But if you follow those steps, you should be fine. And if you don't have a sharp, if you have a Casio, you're going to follow, oh goodness, I can't get straight lines happening tonight. You are going to follow that. Okay, so if you're a Casio, you're going to follow the left one. And if you're sharp, you're going to follow the right one. That's just to help you. And you're doing it for the equation y is equal to -2 cos x minus 3. Okay, give it a go. If you're needing help with things. I mean, it's not weird. But it's okay. Do you just have it as like a backup? Why do you have both? Oh, sorry, Asamakli. Yeah. So I do write the quizzes that you do on Thursdays. They're normally just between 5 and 10 questions. They're nice and short. Just on the sections of the work that you did. I didn't say it though. So 3 calculators. You know what? I do have a calculator horror story. I had a student whose calculator died, and they had brought a spare calculator to the exam, like, because she was such an anxious kid and she was so stressed, and it was her maths exam. And then the second calculator that she had also died. So both of them died in the exam, and we weren't allowed to bring them anything because of the rules of like the matric examination rooms. So we couldn't say anything. Shame. It was very sad. Oh, so if they tell you to calculate without a calculator, remember they say that, but we can calculate with a calculator. We just have to be. See, I haven't done anything yet. It's impossible for me to have gone fast. Okay. Please take a screenshot of these so that you've got them for future use, for the Sharps and for the Casios, and you've got them. I've tried to make it sort of as clear as possible. So the question is just to sketch this graph from negative 360 to positive 360. So from negative 360 to positive 360. So it's RCL, not RDL. I think from what I saw, it was chilling somewhere down here near the bottom. Obviously, this isn't a sharp, but it should be somewhere here. I think it's written in red writing. Can I move past the calculator notes? Has everyone taken a photo? Okay. So I'm wanting you to draw this graph for me. Please draw them on your sides. And then we're going to draw it on the screen. Oh, still no calculator. It's okay. Yay, Skylar, second day. Woohoo. What do you eat? So, I mean, there's lots of sort of studies on all of that, like what best promotes like brain health. But I think for anyone really just like the most important thing is you get a proper night's sleep. So if there's a food that you can eat, so like I know that if I eat sugar, I don't sleep very well that night. So I mean, it's often a sacrifice I make, guys, because chocolate, I mean, chocolate is life. But if you if there's a yeah, chocolate is life, really, I do feel that way. But if there's a food that stops you from sleeping nicely, then maybe don't eat those. Bananas have high potassium in them. They help you to remember things. So bananas are always good. And then exactly, you can take a proper night's sleep. You know, Canva, if McDonald's is going to make you sleep like a baby, I'm fine with it. Import, if it helps you sleep properly and you can still focus the next day, everybody has a different body. I would really struggle to focus if I was hungry, but no, Kevin, no, you did not follow my allocated bedtime, and that is unacceptable.
Yeah, one day you're gonna shut, Kevin. So
Because of cat.
Need more eyes.
Yes, exactly. Our x is now going to be negative 360, and then our x is going to be negative 270, and then negative 180, and then negative 90. Okay, I'm just going to chuck this in my calculator because I also want to make my life nice and easy. So I'm going to say negative 2 cos alpha x, close up that bracket. Don't forget to close up the bracket. Minus 3 is equal to, I'm going to start at negative 360. I'm going to end at 360. I want to step in 90 degrees. Sia, we cannot talk about things that are personal like that. We cannot have that happening in the chat. Can we zip that? I see you, and I'm displeased. Okay, so when we chuck it into our calculator, we get our glorious little answers. Negative 360 is going to give us negative 5. Then we're going to have negative 3, negative 1. Hopefully you're finding this nice and easy in your calculators now. Negative 3, thank you, Sia. I appreciate the apology and I accept it. 0, negative 5, 90, negative 3, 180, negative 1, 270, negative 3, and 360, negative 5. Okay, now we have all of our coordinates. Now we get to just draw them. Okay. So negative 5, 270, negative 3, 180, negative 1, negative 90, negative 3, 0, negative 5, 90, negative 3, 180, negative 1, 270, negative 3, and 360, negative 5. And so we get our beautiful little hills that are not, that was a terrible hill. There we go. Okay. And we're done.
Drawing. I would like to see some students who draw this graph.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea, Yolanda. If you've got this graph drawn, show us in the camera so we can have a quiz and see what they look like. If we've got some Drakensberg mountains happening. Oh no, they're looking really good.
Oh, you guys never disappoint.
No, they're looking great.
Wow.
Yeah, you know what? The left-hand side has gone a bit straight, but the right-hand side was definitely an improvement. Yeah.
Definitely wrote a mountain.
Yeah, the left-hand side looked like it's like an incline that a bike was going up. Like, vroom, and then just remember this part over here needs to be a nice little curve.
Mahopa says that we should zoom a little bit so he can see.
I don't know.
The table, yeah.
Good. Okay. Yeah. So let's talk about our different questions. You already know what I'm going to ask. I love it. Okay. We're going to put in these values over here for our turning points, negative 180 and negative 1. And then we've got our 0 and negative 5. Okay. So maximum, looking at this graph, what is my maximum value? Beautiful. Negative 1. What is my minimum value? Negative 5. Yes. Okay. What is the amplitude? What is the amplitude? Don't fall for the trap. What is the amplitude? Good. It is 2. It is not negative 2 because an amplitude is always positive. Okay, so we have to be careful with that. We're going to look at that negative 2 and we're going to think A. That is A. A is negative 2, but our amplitude is 2, not negative 2. Okay, what is the range? And how would I write range? Make sure you write range correctly. Or what's missing there? Something's missing with those coordinates. So y can't be equal to everything scalar because I don't have any y values up here. Yes, brackets we're missing. Good. Square brackets. Excellent. Square brackets because we are including negative 1 and we are, oh, I've written it the wrong way around. Ooh. Minimum negative 5, maximum negative 1. So if you wrote -1 first, be careful, always the minimum first and then the maximum. Please be careful with this. Amplitude. So I'm going to bring in this line that I spoke about a couple of lessons ago. Amplitude is talking about if we were looking at the center of our graph. Okay, from the center of our graph, what would be the distance from that center to the maximum point? That's what amplitude is looking at. So that's 2. But if finding that center line confuses you, then the other way to think about amplitude is to think that it is your maximum minus your minimum divided by 2. And that's what gives us that. So amplitude is talking about sort of how much this graph is being stretched. Okay, what is the period? I'm not trying to trick you here. There is no b value. It is just 360 degrees. Okay, great. So this is just recapping what we did on Tuesday. One more for us, because I just see that quite a few more learners have joined since this was on the screen. If you didn't get a photo of this earlier, please take a photo now. So if you are a Casio or a Sharp user, please take a screenshot so that you know how to do this moving forward.
Screenshot, guys, so forever hold up.
And I go through it in quite a bit more detail in our lesson from Tuesday. So if you want to listen to me go through it, then watch the lesson that we did on Tuesday. Okay, cool. Yes, or both. Okay, so today what we're going to be talking about is we're going to be determining the equation of a cos graph. And so we're trying to find our A and our Q value of a cos graph. Now, cos graphs can get a little bit nasty because when we have sine graphs and cos graphs on the same line. So for example, I could have a graph that looks like this. And I could ask you to give me the equation of both the blue line and the red line. You need to then understand which is which. So we are going to talk about that, but we're going to talk about that in our lesson on Tuesday, because on Tuesday we're going to merge the sine and cos graphs together, and then we're going to move into tan. Oh, good. I'm so glad you're loving this topic. I also love this topic. I love anything to do with functions, to be honest with you, though. Okay, so this is the graph that we're looking at.
Sorry, ma'am, but can we zoom it a little bit more so that they can see? Because Skylar said he can't see.
I don't know if I can go more than that. Otherwise, it's going to go out of the screen.
I think that should be perfect. At least it's better than before. Thank you.
Sure. Okay, so when we have a look at this, there are a few things that I want you to start noticing. Okay, who remembers in a sine graph what was like the big difference between the sine graph and the cos graph? Because they're very, very similar. Who remembers what the big difference was between the two of them? My hint is that it has something to do with the y-axis. Okay, so yeah, so that's not bad. Okay, so basically one of the big differences is that sine starts at its middle point. So like when we think of like a normal sine graph, it starts at 0, and cos, so I see lots of people are saying cos starts at 1 or cos starts at -1. That's great if it's just a normal cos graph, but if I have an amplitude involved, that's going to change. So when we think of a cos graph, the most important thing for us to think of is it starting at its center, because then it's sine, or is it starting at its max or min? Okay, and if it's starting at its max or min, then it is a cos graph. So that's like one of our first hints to know that it's a cos graph. So we can see that this is a cos graph because on the y-axis, it's at its maximum. Okay, cool. That's our first thing for us to think about. Next thing we need to think about is in a sine graph, it's quite easy for us to know what our Q value is because we can just look at our Y axis, okay? It gets a little bit more complicated in cos. So there's lots of different ways to go about this, and I'm going to show you the way that I think is the easiest, but I'm open to any, like if you have a different way that you find easier, please let us know and we can talk it through. When we're in these types of questions, I think the easiest place to start is to find A. Okay, so if we are starting with A, the first thing that's important for us to identify is it a max or is it a min? So where is it starting? So in this graph, is this graph starting at its maximum or is it starting at its minimum? Good. Okay. If it's starting at its max, then our A is going to be positive. And if it's starting at its min, then our A is going to be negative. So that's our first thing to think of. Then we look for what that A value would be. And we do it by working with that amplitude formula. Okay, so we take our max, we minus our min, and we divide it by 2. Our max is 5. We're minusing, don't forget these brackets, -1, and we're dividing that by 2. Okay, so that's going to give me 5 plus 1, which is 6 over 2, which is 3. And we've already established that it's at a maximum, which means it's positive. So far, we know our graph is y is equal to A. Oh, no, we know A, positive 3 cos x plus q. Okay, so finding A shouldn't be too difficult. All right, I'm just going to write in these different values here for the moment because you'll see why. Once we know what that A value is, for me, I think the easiest thing to do is to find the center of your graph to help you find your Q value, right? You don't have to do it this way, but you can. So if my amplitude is 3, right? That's my amplitude over there. That's 1, 2, 3. Now that's mine. And that means that this line here is the new center of my graph. Okay, so the 2 comes from whenever we're working out our amplitude, we always divide by 2. Some of your teachers may teach it as a half times max minus min, but that's where that 2 is coming from. Okay, so once we found that amplitude, that gives us this new line over there. How do you think that that new line could help us? Who thinks that they can tell us? I'm all ears. What do you think is happening once we found this line? Or who thinks that they can tell me what Q is? Give it a try. Yeah, you can find Y. Good. Okay, we start the graph above the line. It's an indication of Q. It does help us with what Q is. Okay. Good. Okay, so guys, so your Q value, remember, is telling you about your shift. It's saying how much has this graph shifted up or how much has it shifted down, okay? And if we're finding this center line of our graph, we're essentially saying, well, that's currently where its y-axis is. So how much was it shifted up? And it shifted up by 2. That was how much it shifted up. Okay, so if it shifted up by 2, that means that my Q value must be 2. So that means that y is equal to 3 cos x plus 2. So as soon as we find that line, we actually know what Q is. And we can find that line by finding our A value, which makes it nice and easy. You don't have to do it this way. There are lots of other ways you can do it. I just personally find this to be the easiest one. Okay, another way you could do this is you could substitute points in. So for example, if we're looking for what Q is, we could substitute any of these values in. Let me just try and move a little bit to the side. So let's say I wanted to sub in 180 and -1. Okay, remember that's X and that's Y. I could say -1 is equal to 3 cos 180 plus Q. We can do that all on our calculator. So we could put into our calculator 3 times cos, and then in brackets 180, and close off that bracket, and we will get -3. So we can see, okay, well, that's -1 is equal to -3 plus Q. This, I just put straight into my calculator. Then I'm going to move that 3 over, so -1 plus 3 is equal to Q, which means Q is equal to 2. So you can either do it by finding that center line, or you can do it by subbing in values. Either way, you'll get to the right place. You start from 0 up below that. Yeah, you start from 0. So basically, whatever the shift is from the axis to the new line that we've just drawn. I'm just trying to go through these chats. So yes, Sipa said to yes. Sorry, I just saw your message. Yeah, you can use any coordinates. Any coordinates on the graph will work. Try use one of the ones which is on the max or min, because then you'll get a nice clean answer. But yeah, it will 100% work. So you use whichever method you feel more comfortable in. Sometimes subbing in scares people though, but this line can scare others. So you must do the way that makes your brain happy. Okay, cool. I think I might have, oh no, I put another question here first. Okay. All right. Oh, let me just zoom out for anyone who wants a screenshot of this. Okay. If you would like a screenshot, now is your time.
Time, people, screenshot.
Okay. All right. Let's have a look at B. I want you guys to give this a try. Remember, we're looking for y is equal to a cos x plus q. I want to know what a is, and I want to know what q is. I also thought we were going to brain break. I thought that I had put it straight after that one, but obviously I hadn't. So it will be after this question. Monica, how can I help?
Ma'am, can you please zoom in a bit?
Sure.
Thank you,
Is that
ma'am.
better? Does that help?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Okay, sure.
Siamo, I hope you did get your answer that we're looking for A and Q. That's what we're looking for. You guys are doing really well. Let's do this.
Like amazingly. I'm trying not to give away too many answers. I'm trying to like hold back my facial expression so that you carry on going. Yeah, I'm going to give you guys one more minute and then I'm going to go through this one. So at in 30 seconds. Give you an extra 30 seconds. Oh, okay, we have our first equation that's just come up. You have fallen for one of my traps. I will say that. You have walked into one of the traps. I still haven't done my epic. Oh, Canva, I'm liking something that's happening there. I'm liking something. Okay. Let's take you out of your misery. Let's start by finding A. Okay, so for A, first thing that we had to do is we had to say, are we starting at our max or are we starting at our min? And I think people forgot about that step. Are we starting at our maximum or are we starting at our minimum here? It's a min, okay? And if we're starting at our min, that means that A is going to be negative, okay? So we know that A is going to be negative. That's the first thing we need to take from this. Then we have a look. Yeah, that was the first trick. Next thing, we have to say, well, we're going to take our max, we're going to minus our min, and we're going to divide it by 2. So our max is 1, we're minusing -3, and we're dividing that by 2, which gives us 1 plus 3, so 4 over 2, which is 2. So that means our A value, so far we're saying y is equal to -2 cos x plus q. If you got that far, well done. Big well done. Very, very chuffed if you got that -2 cos x plus q. Okay. Next thing we have to look at is we've got 2 different options here. The first option is we can draw a line. So let's try and draw a line. That would be 1, 2, okay, because we need to have a 2. So it would be somewhere, oh, goodness, sorry. Okay, so we would have our line going straight. Oh, no, let me use my new fancy thing that we figured out here the other day. Oh, it didn't work. There has to clearly be a shape. How sad. Oh, I'm so sad. All of my enthusiasm has just died in a second. Okay. I really thought it was going to correct to like a beautiful, now it's not doing anything. I'm so sad. Okay. All right. Let's move past that. Once we have that center line essentially tells us what Q is. Okay. And that means that we have moved down. It's not a half because I'm not going up in 1s. I'm going in 2s, which means that point over there is -1. I've moved down. 1. And so it would be y is equal to -2 cos x minus 1. If you did not do the method with finding the line and you did a subbing in, let's look at what that would look like. Okay, so I'm going to just do that over here. I'm just going to take this point over here. So y is equal to, so now it does it. How rude. Okay, anyway. Okay, y is equal to 1 and x is equal to 180. I'm just using that point over there. So I'm just going to chuck that into my calculator. So -2 times cos and then in brackets 180 and close that off and I'm going to get a 2. So 1 is equal to +2 plus q. I'm going to move that 2 over and I'm going to see 1 minus 2, which is -1. So you can do it with subbing in or you can do it with your line. But remember, this was just your first one. It will get easier. You'll get better. Even if you just got A to start with, that's really great. Okay, and now you won't make whatever mistake you made now, don't make it in the next graph. Okay, let's quickly do our brain break and then we'll jump into another question. Oh, wait, if you need a screenshot, take one now. Okay, so 2 is not going to be positive because we started at our minimum. If we start at our minimum, it has to be negative. So to get that line, we take whatever value our A value was. So our A value was 2, and we go 2 units down. So 1, 2, and wherever 2 units down would be, and then we just draw the line straight around there. Okay. All right. Okay, first one is just a nice little riddle. See if you get it as quickly as I think you might. What has 13 hearts but no body or soul? What has 13 hearts but no body or soul? To answer the question in the chat, your X, my goodness, so dramatic for grade 10. The trig graph, another octopus. Octopuses also have bodies. I used 180, but I could use any coordinates. So some of you are close by saying card, but it needs to be, there we go. It's a WhatsApp group is actually not a bad answer if there were 13 people on the WhatsApp group, but the answer was a deck of cards because you have
13 people on a WhatsApp. They have no hearts, and so
because they have these 13 hearts, but they have no, yeah, they would have to be very mean people, I suppose. Skylar, why? No, it's not. I know his ex. That was harsh. Okay. Last one. I'll talk about that answer now. Let's give you a chance to get this one. Let's see if you can figure this out. This one's nice and quick. See if you can tell me what my question mark is. It's not 17. It's not 60. It's not 25. Ah, Portia, yes.
Well done, Portia. Well done.
Yes. 15. Nice. Okay, these are each 10. 10 plus 10 plus 10 is 30. So that's 10. That's 10. Which means that my burgers must each be 5. So 5 and 5. Which means these chips are 2 and 2. So that chip is 1. 1 times 10 is 10. 10 plus 5 is 15. For the question above, not understanding with a deck of cards, in a deck of cards, remember you've got ace, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, jack, queen, king. That's 13. And all of them would have hearts. So you would have 13 hearts.
Yolanda said this person is making her hungry.
That's exactly what you said earlier. Okay, let's jump back into some cos. Demand a rematch. Okay, let's see if you can tell me what my beautiful equation for this graph is going to be. Remember, I'm looking for what my, now all you want to do is draw straight lines. And I don't want you to draw straight lines now. Computer, can you just stop being so rude? Okay. All right, y is equal to a cos x plus q. I want my a value and I want my q value.
Let's do this, guys. Let's see.
Don't fall for the same trap that you did in the last one. Oh, Canva, I feel like you are chilling in the same trap. Yeah, you are also in that trap. Kevin, you're also in the trap. Okay, Kazimla, I'm missing a Y and I'm missing an X. Kevin, I'm missing a Y and you're in a trap. +7. Our graph would be. You know, I'm going to say anything. I'm going to keep contained.
You're trying to hold it in.
I'm trying to hold it in.
You guys are
So
doing
that I don't
awesome
give
though.
anything
Trying is nice.
I
Trying
agree.
is nice, everyone.
Trying and making mistakes is the way that you learn.
Yeah, it's the only way.
Josh, where is my Y? And also you're in a trap. Sinclair. Guys, we seem certain about something that we shouldn't be certain about. Okay. I wrote the single numbers so that you wouldn't fall for the trap of jumping in twos. Okay, I'm going to talk you through so that hopefully we'll have time for one more tonight. Okay. First of all, are we starting at a max or a min? It's a min. If it is a min, that means that our value is negative. Do not forget that. Okay. To find A, we're going to take our maximum value, which is 5, and we're going to subtract our minimum value, which is 1. We're going to divide it by 2. So we get 4 over 2, which is 2. But because we're smart, we're not going to forget that we started at our negative at minimum, which means it's negative. So far we are at y is equal to -2 cos x plus q. Okay, if you got there, give yourselves 2 ticks. I want to see the y. You can't leave these things off. I need to see that y and I need to see that x. You can't just write -2 plus q. It needs to look exactly like what I've written here. Okay, cool. Next step, if we're looking for our middle line, we know that A is 2, right? So we're going to go down 2. That's 1, 2. So that takes us to that point there. So I'm going to draw my little line, but you'll have your rulers, so that'll be nice and easy to draw. And we see, ta-da, 3, and we are above the y-axis, which means we have moved up by 3. So that means that our equation is y is equal to -2 cos x plus 3. Give yourselves another 2 ticks if you got to that full equation and it's written like I've written over there. So guys, remember, when you're looking for A, it's not going to tell you that it's negative. When I worked out A here, I saw that A was 2. It doesn't tell you that it's negative. We have to think it's negative because we have to know we're starting at our minimum, and our minimum means that it's negative. That's something we have to know. It's not something that A is going to tell us. Okay. So next thing is, if you didn't do it this way, if you did it by subbing in, choose any set of coordinates. Let's say we chose these 2 over here. Okay, so my y value is 5, my x value is 180, and I'm plusing 3. So let's chuck that into our calculator. -2 times cos, and in brackets 180, that's going to give me 2. So I'm going to have 5 is equal to 2 plus, oh, why have I written this 3? Q, which means Q is equal to 3, and we get to the same place. Okay, so do whichever one you feel comfortable with. It depends. Often these questions are sort of the beginning question of a number, but I definitely you wouldn't get less than 3 for finding this. I know it seems like it takes long, but like it actually is quite a lot quicker. Think about how fast we did this compared to our first one. So it does go a bit quicker. It's not that you get marks for writing cos x, it's that the sentence doesn't make sense if the cos x isn't there. And so that's why you have to write it. Otherwise, the sentence doesn't make mathematical sense. So 2 is going to be negative if our graph is starting at our minimum. If our graph is starting at our maximum, so if our maximum was up here and that's where I was starting, then it would be a positive. But if it's starting at its minimum, then it's going to be a negative. Not for a bit, I don't think. Georgia, how can I help?
For the beginning of the graph, I guess, how would you know where to go up and down from? Like, you know how you started from the 5? How would you know like it's supposed to go from 5 all the way, like after we've calculated that it's going to be 2?
Yeah,
Like,
you can either go, you can go from a maximum or you can go from a minimum. So as long as you're going from a turning point, you're just going to go from there. No problem. Monica, how can I help?
Ma'am, I was asking, basically when your cos graph is upside down, meaning it's negative,
Mm-hmm.
and then when it's up straight, it's positive.
Yes.
Okay, so it's gonna work the same as the parabola.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
No problem. Kevin, these capital letters, can you calm down? I'm already like doing 7 things at the same time. It's always going to be max minus min over 2 when you're finding your amplitude. That is when it's max minus min. Sure. So much capital letters hitting me. Yes, Kevin must run. Run. Okay, but don't run. Actually, stay here. All right. Let's try and fit in one sneaky last one before your quiz. Okay. See if you can do it as quickly as you can. Sibongo, sorry, can I help?
Hello, ma'am.
Hi.
Ma'am, I'm kind of lost. For the previous one, ma'am, how do we get +3?
So the +3, the one way of doing it is finding that central line and looking at from a turning point to that line, and then looking at our y-axis and seeing what number that is. And the other way is by substituting in 2 points. But I can scroll back up to it and you can take a screenshot when we finished with this question, okay?
Okay, thank you.
All right. I wouldn't keep calm studying for LO because I don't think I'd study for LO. I'm just going to be honest. Don't tell your LO teachers I said that though. They wouldn't be happy with me. No, I'm trying to hide facial expressions so that everyone can give it a go. But I will say that we're starting at a maximum. I'll say that. That's all I'll say. Okay, I'm going to give you 1 more minute and then I'm going to go through this. And I'm going to just help out a few people. Okay, let's go. I'm going to go through this quickly, guys. I'm just going to warn you because our time is limited. So I understand that I'm going through it fast, but remember you can watch this video to play it over again. Okay. All right, firstly, we're starting at our maximum. That means that A is positive. Okay. To find A, we take our max, we minus our min, and we divide it by 2. Our max is 3, our min is -7, and we're dividing that by 2. Make sure that's in brackets. 3 plus 7 is 10. 10 over 2 is 5, and A is positive, which means we've got y is equal to 5 cos x plus q. You there? Give yourselves 2 marks. Next step, okay? We know that we're looking at that A value of 5. So I'm going to go down 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm going to draw my line. You can start either at a minimum and go up 5, or you can start at a maximum and go down 5. It needs to be at a turning point. That's our center line. That means that my Q value is -2. So y is equal to 5 cos x minus 2. Last question. If you did it through substitution, I'm just going to choose these values over here. I would have -7 is equal to 5 cos times 180 plus q. So -7 is going to equal -5 plus q. -7 plus 5 is going to be -2, which is q. If you got there, I'm really proud of you. Well done. If you didn't, don't panic. Our lesson on Tuesday, we're going to mush together sine and cos. So we're going to re-deal with some cos. Okay. Yolanda, they're all yours for the quiz.